Hi, I'm Charlie, and this is Stereo Hysteria. Our August artists of the month, The Paranoid Style, are a rock band formed in Washington, D.C., named after a prescient 1964 essay by Richard Hofstadter about the growing influence of conspiracy-minded thinking in right-wing politics. The Paranoid Style's songs pair intelligent lyrical insights about music, historical events, popular culture, and politics with wonderfully energetic and melodic guitar-driven garage rock. They were formed in the 2010s by lead singer and keyboardist Elizabeth Nelson, whose nonfiction writing in publications such as Pitchfork, Stereogum, The Ringer, and The Oxford American is always highly perceptive and entertaining, and her husband, guitarist Timothy Bracey, formerly of alt-country underdogs The Mendoza Line, as well as being a fine journalist in his own right. This month will see the release of their superb third album, For Executive Meeting, on Bar None Records, an LP whose lyrical concerns center on the idea of art as labor and the struggle of making creative work within a capitalist society, via allegorical tales about artistic figures like Barney Bubbles, John Prine, P.G. Wodehouse, Big Star, and the Velvet Underground, and which musically may be the Paranoid Style's pub rockiest set to date. Stereo Hysteria spoke with Elizabeth over Zoom last month, and we'll be hearing our conversation over the next 2 hours, along with music from throughout the Paranoid Style's discography, not to mention a few unplanned cameos from our cats. But we'll start things off with the lead-off track from the band's first full-length album, 2016's Rolling Disclosure, called The Ambassador's Morning Lift.
What are you going for? And what do you have in store? Just time for it. Not worth the bother anymore. It wasn't worth it when you weren't broke. My old friend had a saying. What was that? It's useful to keep up disappearances, but best plans get mislaid. No, they don't. They only get misexperienced. I was on a grift. I was short of funds. The ambassador's morning lift. The only way the morning comes. A nightmare in the cliffs. Nightmare on the cliff. Hasn't really come to this. Did you really expect anything? I might have had a fifth. I was out cold in the sun. The ambassador's morning lift. The only way the morning comes. You told me what you wished. You said it out loud, it won't come true. It shook you like a fist and turned you like a screw.
my sort of opening gambit is usually your upbringing in a musical sense. Like if you had a lot of music playing in your household while you were growing up, if your parents or family members were particularly musically inclined, and just what the role of music was while you were coming of age.
I think this is such a nice question to start off with. And yes, both of my parents did enjoy listening to music. My mom played the piano. She had actually some skills as a performer, and she was a singer in choirs and stuff. And now she actually performs in an all-women's barbershop quartet ensemble, though. That's a large group of women singing barbershop quartet music. But she also has her own like splinter quartet as well.
Okay.
But anyway, so she was very, very musical, although she probably would say that she doesn't think she has much talent, but she was very into show tunes. I grew up on Long Island, and so we were fairly close to New York City enough that she would go to see a lot of Broadway plays. And so she was constantly playing the soundtrack to a chorus line, which is a very inappropriate soundtrack. There's some songs on there that are quite risque, but I remember that from card trips. And my dad was just a very great lover of music. He was a big classical fan and an even larger jazz fan. So he would just kind of have jazz music sort of playing in the background. And then he wasn't really like into rock. Neither of them were really into rock and roll. I think, it got about as hard as Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Okay.
Although my dad was a Rubber Soul fan, and he thought that was where the Beatles really got to be their best, and he was not interested after Rubber Soul. So there was a copy of Rubber Soul that kind of kicked around too. But the rock and roll that would come out if they were having some sort of like wild party where they would listen to Jimmy Buffett or like Jim Croce.
Okay.
So it was a lot of jazz, a lot of show tunes, and some classical. And that was really my upbringing, and which was very nice actually to have that kind of just ambiently playing. But I would scarcely say that they were like playing, the Clash or, the MC5 or something.
So when did you start playing instruments or singing yourself? Was that always sort of an ambition, listening to this music in the atmosphere?
We had a piano in our living room. And so when you're just a little kid, that kind of, is the word like kinesthetic or whatever, that kind of just touching the instrument and having it make sound was super fun. And I had a good ear, I was told. And so I could pick out melodies to, whatever TV show theme or something, that kind of stayed in my head. And so recognizing that talent early on, my mom and dad got me piano lessons. Probably when I was like 7, I think. I took lessons at the music store in town in a back room with a groovy guy whose name was like Bob, I want to say. It was like one of those absolutely kind of stereotypical music store. I don't know if you've taken lessons in a music store, but it like smells like smoke. I mean, this was the 80s, so I'm sure it's all non-existent at this point. But
it's sort of moved on to like School of Rocks, very franchised and
totally, or like online or whatever.
Right.
But back then, you could hang out with a groovy dude in the back of a music store. And so that was the first person I took piano lessons from when I was like 7. And then I moved on to a more serious classical teacher within a couple of years and studied I was very, very committed to classical piano for like, at least the next decade and a half. And then throughout, like I was very convinced that I was going to be a classical piano player, which was a dream of mine that got shot down when I realized that, in fact, like I was not as good as I thought I was, and that there were like a billion people that were much, much, much better than me. But I did study it very seriously. I took it very seriously. And so, that was really like the first exposure to music lessons that I had in playing music. And then when I was in middle school and high school, I became also interested in performing. So I wanted to be in plays and be in musicals and join choir and stuff. And I enjoyed singing and performing. So all of that kind of fell naturally. So I was constantly, joining up whatever band I could be in, whether, it was like marching or jazz or not like rock bands necessarily, but just like trying out for everything because I was just like a super ambitious little musical theater rat and drama kid. So it all kind of fell into place for me there.
And when did you start to play in bands sort of outside of a school-sanctioned setting?
For sure. Hang on. I want to answer this question. I don't know if you can hear this cat.
Oh, a little bit, yeah.
In the background. So I don't know if we want to wait for her to finish her. Whenever my husband leaves the house, she gets very neurotic and she gets this separation anxiety. And so she like carries around this little stuffed mouse and she cries.
Oh.
She'll stop eventually, but it probably is very disturbing to have that listen to it.
Not as disturbing as you would think.
Oh, buddy. Who is that?
This is Olive.
Olive. Hi.
Hi, Olive.
Much more quiet than Victoria, who's wandering around the other room like a grieving widow who's like looking for a ghost or something. It's sad to see her do it. I can't help her. I look at her and I say, I'm here. I'll pat you. And she just carries around this mouse very sadly. Okay, anyway. To your question about when did I like start playing in bands that were not school sanctioned and not something that my parents would. When I was in college, I took up the accordion.
Okay.
I was a music major. And this is where I was saying that I had like the revelation that like I was not going to be very good at being like a professional classical musician. And so I abandoned being in any sort of formal choir stuff. I didn't want to play the piano in an orchestra or any sort of context like that. I got really disillusioned, but I had to be in an ensemble. And so there was a string band at my college. And this was like sort of a low stakes, one night a week kind of commitment where we got together and we played like traditional Irish music and contra dance music and square dance music. Like I went to college in upstate New York. So this was like a big square dance scene. Mm-hmm. And so we played at all these square dances. And it was super fun, but because they already had a piano player for the band, their only instrument that I could play was the accordion or the pump organ. So I went with the accordion, in part because I love They Might Be Giants so much, but also I was like, pump organ, come on, that's so lame. So anyway, so I taught myself the accordion pretty quickly so I could play in this band. And then from there, I started to play in bands playing the accordion. Okay. So a lot of times, like I played in like a Latin American popular music ensemble, like a Latin American dance band kind of situation. And then, yeah, just like love it or hate it, it makes an appearance in indie rock. Yes. And so like at times when friends of mine would be in need of an accordion player, they would ask me sometimes, and I would always want to do that. And so it was just kind of casual stuff. And then also like I played in my friend Beth's band Bird of Youth for a little while when I was living in New York. So it became quasi-professional as well. So it was a really nice kind of entry point to like have this kind of kooky instrument that sort of fit into a lot of different contexts and allowed me to try out stuff that was not just so focused, and classical.
Okay. Can I ask, was it a piano accordion or the button accordion?
It was the piano accordion. I still have it. It's a beautiful, beautiful instrument. It's white and gold. It's got gold, glittery, like sharps and flats, and then it's all white and gold. And I bought it when I was drunk, when I was in grad school. Like I used to go to this bar on Fridays with my friends, and they had this thing where you had to like drink 500 beers over the course of 365 days.
Okay. Not in one night.
Yeah, we have to have goals. This is like my whole thing. So like we had like one class on Fridays, and then we used to go to the bar and try and finish up all of our 500 beers, which if you can do the math, you have to have more than one in order to get to 500. But there's a music store right next door to this bar. And so we like wandered over one day and like I saw this accordion. This was not the one I played in the college band. That was one I just borrowed from the band director. But the one that I own, I actually purchased like kind of on a bender, but it was a good investment, I think.
Yeah. I've only recently made my recording debut on accordion, which I do not really know how to play, but I read the liner notes to Pete Townshend's Scoop where he said that mastering the accordion for Squeezebox to him was just being able to play it without falling over. Mm-hmm. And so once I was able to not be overwhelmed by the weight of the accordion, I'm like, all right, I'm proficient enough.
Are you playing the keyboard accordion as well, or are you doing a button accordion?
Yeah, keyboard accordion.
Yeah, so it's heavy. I mean,
Yes.
like that's a lot of weight to work those bellows and the keyboard and the buttons. So good for you. And yeah, I mean, good on Pete Townsend. That's great advice. I mean, and like you could also technically fall down and you'd still be okay. But and I say this as a person, because I've purchased accordions drunk. So
From the debut Paranoid Style EP, 2013's The Purposes of Music in General, this is Beyond Petition.
Well, you went around the twist, clubbed me to submission. Oh, I know it's so hard to resist. It's all beyond petition, but you gotta wait your turn, because your concerns are my concerns. So what fresh hell is this? What's the exposition? Oh, I know you say love don't exist. It's only superstition. But sometimes you're gonna burn. Whether your concerns are my concerns, and you're already saying my work here is done when my work hasn't even begun. Once we could speak like a friend to a friend, but the possibilities always have an end. Do it with a flick of wrist, like you're a magician. Oh, you're such a solipsist. There's only one position, but I like it when you're spurned. 'Cause when you get hot, then my house burns, and you're already saying my work here is done when my work hasn't even begun. Once we could speak like a friend to a friend, but the possibilities always have an end. Scrolled out on your wrist, said you're gonna find religion. Oh, I was well beyond the test, I was well beyond perdition. So you turned up trashed. It was always women and children last, and you're already saying our work here is done when my work hasn't even begun. Once we could speak like a friend to a friend, but the possibilities always have an end. But the possibilities always have an end.
So when did you and Timothy meet, and was starting a band sort of always in the back of your heads?
we actually met during that same period when I purchased that accordion. When I was in grad school in Indiana at IU Bloomington, he used to be in this band called Mendoza Line, and they were on tour and they rolled through town. Like Bloomington's a pretty cool place to play, and it was like, it's got like a lot of like indie cred, I guess, and like a lot of nice history. Like that's where Jack Jaguar started, or I guess they started in Virginia, but whatever.
Yeah. Isn't Secretly Canadian from there?
Yeah. And then those guys kind of joined up. And so I knew all those guys. And so what's that, like Songs Ohio guys from there too, whatever. So there was like a scene happening for sure. So it was not abnormal for bands to come through. And Mendoza Line came through and played a show. And I was like hanging out with some friends. They maybe were opening for Mendoza Line, but like we were all just hanging out on the porch as you do when you're at school. And yeah, we just met. Like I met all of those guys, and Timothy and I just, kind of became friends. And traded email addresses and just wrote to each other for a while because I was doing grad school and then I moved around the country. So I was playing in bands and he was obviously doing this other band. And the thing I kind of saw like when I was in Bloomington was like a lot of bands that I didn't like. Like I just thought like everybody was kind of in a band and they were nice people, but their songs kind of sucked and they weren't that interesting. So I was always kind of like, man, if I had like not a bunch of other like scholarly stuff to attend to, like this would be something that I would do because I just wanted to do it better, which is like a super obnoxious thing to say, but it's really what I felt. Like I was just kind of like, man, these bands are so boring and insufferable and like, but I really didn't have the time. So, and I was very like impressed at anybody who could and would do it, of course. And I just didn't really have the initiative at that point, but it always was something that I thought looked cool and seemed like it would be a fun project. And obviously just playing in bands as like a side person is really super fun. And so, yeah, like when I moved to New York and I was playing with Beth and her band, it was clear that like I had some skills. And so when Timothy and I got together, he was still doing Mendoza lines sort of. And then he was doing like a solo project. And so he invited me to come play on some stuff. And I did that and I played piano. And when it came to pass that I could sing and could write and do all this other stuff, like it became clear that like doing a band would be a really fun thing to do. And then we got married and moved to DC, which removed us from like the whole New York scene of it all. So we lived in his parents' basement when we first got married for like 6 months. And this was, I think I've told this story before, so I apologize to the, listeners who have heard this one, but we were living in Tim's parents' basement. And it was during this winter where there was the Snowmageddon in DC. And so there was like 6 feet of snow outside and we had nothing to do. And we were living with Tim's mom. His dad was in Arizona on business, but we were living with his mom and she had like a new puppy and like there was just 6 feet of snow outside. And to keep from everybody just kind of killing each other, like we started writing songs and I taught myself how to use Logic so we could record them. And so from there kind of came out this first initial group of Paranoid style songs. And I was really interested in doing it and pursuing it. And Timothy was just very supportive and I think was looking to maybe do something that was a little bit different than Mendoza line. And so I think I was just kind of like, well, I'll just do the singing. I'll just be the band leader. I'll just do the stuff. And he was just kind of like, great, fine. And so we kind of, developed a partnership in that way where it wouldn't be like a bunch of different people singing songs, which is kind of the Mendoza line model was they had 3 songwriters and they all would take turns singing. And it was really cool. But, we didn't want to kind of do a retread of that. So, and also I'm just a very driven and ambitious person. And I was just kind of like, I would like to be and I like performing. So it made a lot of sense at the time. And then, and so we wrote these songs and they were super fun. And then, we just recorded them. And then, from there came Paranoid Style.
From 2013's The Power of Our Proven System, a long out-of-print EP released only on a limited edition cassette tape, although music videos for its tracks can still be found on the Paranoid Styles YouTube channel. Here's a song called A Girl's Gotta Eat. Can we talk about some of the other principal band members? Because you also have Bruce Bennett of the A-Bones, who are one of my favorite groups of rock and roll troglodytes on guitar.
Hell yeah. I'm so glad you mentioned Bruce because I love Bruce and I always wanted to be in a band with Bruce. So Timothy and Bruce, funny story. Timothy and Bruce are from the same hometown, but they didn't realize this until they were both living in New York. So Bruce is a little bit older than Tim and me by about, 8 to 10 years. So he would have been like out of high school or whatever, when he would have met Tim, like going to Bad Brain shows or whatever in DC. He's from the same suburb called McLean, but they met like at a gym in New York and they bonded over like a Big Star sticker that Bruce had on his CD collection. And so they became friends. And then when I moved to New York, Timothy introduced me to Bruce and I was just absolutely delighted to meet him because I was, a fan of A-Bones, and also like Bruce is just one of the funniest and coolest people to hang out with. So when it came to pass that we needed a guitar player, I wanted to work with Bruce. And I said to Timothy, I think we should ask Bruce to play because I love the way that he plays. He's like one of the real kind of rock and roll players out there. And it's very exciting to watch him do the things that he does. And so I asked him if he when we were initially doing our first recordings, we were working with one of the old Mendoza line guitar players. So I had to ask Bruce if he would play bass, which he did very dutifully, and he was great. But I always wanted to play in a band with Bruce and have him play guitar. He was very happy to move over to the guitar chair, which is more his natural setting. And so, like his playing on some of those recordings, like, on Rock and Roll Just Can't Recall, like that whole record, he's so good on. Some of his, like, my favorite stuff that he does, but he's great on all of the records. And like when he's allowed to kind of go a little apeshit and just take a solo, it's like the funnest thing. Like sometimes it's just like, man, he did such a good job on that. And like he often did it in like 1 or 2 takes, which is, like you've done recording, you played in bands, so it sounds like, you've probably seen somebody really struggle, but now he would just sit down and kind of do his thing. And it was like, well, yep, we just let Bruce do his thing. So yes. God, what a cool, like garage rock. It was just so nice to kind of be a part of that legacy,
right? Because
like they're so good. And, and I don't know if you ever got to see them play.
No.
But they're just like one of the wildest and craziest bands that, there's video footage of them on YouTube, I'm sure. Very, very exciting band to watch. Really kind of like they're walking a tightrope of chaos and skill. And just like one of those shows where you're just, man, this is something very cool. So yeah, I feel really lucky that we got him to play on all those records. He was a real soldier for joining us.
Here's the leadoff track from the 2015 EP, Rock and Roll Just Can't Recall, featuring some typically unhinged lead guitar work by Bruce Bennett, called National Sunday Law.
Bet you someone told you you're a tad unreasonable around about the time you had your rival shot. Petra always said I'd bring out the worst in people, but sometimes the worst is what they want. I recall National Sunday Law. I'm appalled. National Sunday Indifference.
lineup of the Paranoid Style sort of varies from recording to recording, from show to show. But you have had a lot of like really remarkable guest appearances. Like there's been, Will Rigby and Peter Holsapple of the DBs. Patterson Hood of the Drive-By Truckers is on the new album, which is so cool. You had Scott McCoy of, pretty much every cool band from the Pacific Northwest.
Exactly, yeah.
How do you approach musicians that you admire about contributing to your own work? Are there any musicians you'd love to work with but haven't yet?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, there's this great quote in Keith Richards's memoir that I'm going to get incorrect, but I'll paraphrase it by saying there was this time where he met Chuck Berry and he said, the thing about meeting your heroes is that oftentimes they are very humble and are actually very supportive, something like that. A really nice thing to say about meeting Chuck Berry. And so that has been my experience almost 201 in terms of meeting somebody who I really admire and approaching them about working together. With Will Rigby, actually, it was through Bruce that I met Will. We do a lot of recording down in North Carolina, which is where Will is. And Peter and Chris Damey of the DBs as well are all down in the Triangle. And we needed a drummer. And so part of the Paranoid Styles, me having such good luck with, rotating personnel is that we often just need personnel because a lot of our band, it lives, in different cities. One of our more consistent members is William Matheny from West Virginia. He's been in the band since the beginning and he'll play with us consistently, but like Spinal Tap, we often are in need of a drummer. It's hard to find somebody with a kit who can travel, to where we record or, whatever reason we've often needed to have somebody fill the drumming chair. We actually have a great guy who's playing with us on the last few records now. But anyway, when we were doing the Rock and Roll Just Can't Recall record, we needed a drummer. We were recording and oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to all of the listeners right now, but there's an adorable cat who has and it's not Olive. Who is this?
Victor has entered the chat. This is Victor is Olive's brother.
Oh, Victor, it's so nice to see you. Anyway, getting back to this dumb story. So Bruce said, well, I think Will's down there. Why don't you just ask him? And he gave me Will's email address. And I wrote to Will and I said, hey, man, we're doing this thing. And Will is a fan of Bruce's. And he said, sure, I'll do it for, a sandwich a day and then a little bit of money. And I mean, it was you got to be kidding me. And so Will Rigby came into the studio and drummed on those songs and sounded incredible. And that's how I met Peter, was that I was working in a record store and Peter came in and I had a copy of the record and I said, hey man, I played on this record with your friend Will. You want to hear it? And so I handed in the promo of Rock and Roll Just Can't Recall. And he was like, okay, and so later that day, he was like, I put that on in my car and it was one of the most exciting things I've ever heard. And so, yeah, when it came time to do Underworld USA, Tim and I had lunch with Peter a couple of times and he was just so nice and so generous. And he was like, I would love to work with you guys. And we had done some recording with him actually and Chris Damey. And so we knew that we could work together well. And so he came to the studio and played piano and organ and stuff on that record. And so that was how we met Peter.
From the 2017 EP, Underworld USA, here's a glam-tinged track featuring piano work by Peter Holsapple called Dominoes in Drag.
Carnations of power, dark secrets that consume the town. Garlands of flowers of the chains that hold men down. Making short work of a long night in your split skirt with your steak knives, with the stakes high. But that strange song I heard Apollo singing, earth and earth in all these empty courts. There's nothing covered up that won't be seen, a man in shadows who won't soon be brought forth. I remember quite completely the night you
as far as Scott goes, I mean, Scott's the nicest person in the entire world. And he also, I met him through Timothy because they were on the same label in the UK, I want to say.
Okay.
I think they had maybe met playing shows and stuff. And Tim is a big fan of the Young Fresh Fellows, and I'm a big Fellows fan. So that one was just really cool because, I mean, he was very game to play on Rolling Disclosure. And he did that actually all remotely, which was really cool. And then like our engineer and producer on that record was Brian Paulson, who's kind of a wizard when it comes to mixing. So he was able to just fold in Scott to make it seem like he was there with us in the studio. So yeah, I mean, we have been lucky. I mean, I admit that we've been lucky, but as I say, you know, it's like being a nice person and also admiring work, you know, that other people do and being able to say like, you know, I really love what you do. I'll tell you something, flattery, it goes a long way. But yeah, people are really generous with their time. I don't know if it's just like these guys love being in the studio, but they've been so nice.
From 2016's Rolling Disclosure, here's a song featuring prominent backing vocals from Scott McCoy, which was made into a hilarious music video that pays shot-by-shot homage to Journey's notoriously cheesy promo clip for Separate Ways, called The Thrill Is Back.
A life gone rotten, and to think I only recently paid my dues and bought in. So what came first, the hen party or the hen? So besotted, war-torn memories won't soon be forgotten. Wait a minute, what was it we were discussing again? The thrill is back. The thrill is back. You were running around acting above your station, but who amongst us doesn't like a public shaming? But they were just playing 24 hours of news and you can call it a day, and it can't all be that bad because it's all so entertaining. The thrill is back. The thrill is back. The thrill is back. But I've been on TV and I've been in the bag. She never went down that easy, but I never checked the price tag. I spoke truth to power, and then you told me that professionals charge by the hour. Hey guys, did I tell you the one about R. Kelly in the shower? No! The thrill is back. The thrill is back. The thrill is back.
Patterson, actually, I met through Tim because they knew each other in Athens.
Okay.
And so like they knew each other from like the scene. And then I met him and we got along great. And then he became an admirer of my writing in addition to the music. And so we would bond over, we have very similar taste musically. So that one was like just a natural fit. And so when I asked him, do you want to duet on this song? And he was like, hell yeah.
From the new Paranoid Style LP, for Executive Meeting, here's that duet with Patterson Hood, written in tribute to the late great John Prine, called I'd Bet My Land and Titles.
One lasting legal smile, I'd bet my land and titles.
Oh, I know you wanna kill your idols, but your idols are dead.
This ain't no no church revival. This ain't no public recital. No one wants a second viewing. Once you chart a course to ruin, no one ever calls from Vegas just to wonder how you're doing. I can't see it for miles, but I bet my land and titles. Someone went nearly berserk. Somebody's looking for work. When a reputation needs rebuilding, it's not the shirt and shoes you're killed in, it's how they put you in the dirt. Once your assets have grown, you've learned to change your tone. Once you recognize the difference between there's nobody there and there's nobody home. Now Jack, she is a banker, and Jane, he is a clerk. From the moment you dropped anchor, you've been acting like a jerk. Listen, question I have for you turning all your tiles. How you end up on the jury when I sang all my trials. You know it's all on file. I bet my land and titles. 5 lanes, 3 days, burning down the highways, moving with a purpose at excessive speed. And everything went unchecked and everything went sideways. Jackie always takes a little more than she needs. Night at the switching yard, the men are tough and hard. If you take the literature at its word, some things are so improbable they're practically assured. When that's a legal smile, John Prine's in exile. No one wants the proof of concept once the verdict is contempt. No one knows the difference between an execution and a compliment, and I can't see for miles, but I bet my land and titles.
You did mention your work as a music journalist, as a rock critic, and I have to say, every time I see your name on the byline, like when I open up Pitchfork or Stereo Gum or what have you, I know I'm going to have fun reading this.
Thank you. That's really nice of you to say.
I feel like there's a pretty big similar Venn diagram between our musical tastes, just based on your own writing and on what you write about or reference in Paranoid-style lyrics. I'm sort of interested. I was actually just talking with a coworker who just discovered Ockerville River.
Oh, okay, cool.
About, how cool it is when rock critics make rock music, which I guess is just sort of like rock fans making rock music. There's a common vocabulary and shared meeting ground.
I appreciate that. First of all, Ockerville is great. I love Will. He's a good friend. He's actually my friend Beth's partner.
Okay.
So that band Bird of Youth I played in, her first record was produced by Will Chef. And now they've been together for probably as long as Tim and I have been together. So over a decade. And so it's really nice when anybody kind of mentions a friend, because I think Ockerville's great. And we definitely kind of, run the same circles and do the kind of same sort of like literary sort of rock music thing, which is very reductive. So I apologize to Will for just describing his music that way. But yeah, a prominent rock critic, and I won't say who, but recently made an observation that there really aren't a lot of rock musicians who can also be good critics, to which I took a little bit of umbrage, because I do think that rock musicians can be great critics. And I think a lot of them do. And I think it's actually a very natural pairing for people who make music to also be able to critique it in a smart way and be able to write about it well. And so I thought it was really dismissive that this particular writer kind of boiled it down to Lenny Kaye and Greg Tate, and that was it. And I was like, wait a second, there's so many of us.
Yeah.
Patti Smith, Ira Kaplan, myself, Sean Nelson from Harvey Danger, Emily Noakes from Taco Cat, Carrie Brownstein used to write for NPR. There's just so many. And I'm just like, come on, But anyway, so I appreciate that you like the criticism and that you acknowledge that it's like not too weird for a person to be able to write about music and also play music.
From an in-studio session recorded for the Evan Funk Davies Show on legendary freeform radio station WFMU in November 2017, here's a rockin' rendition of Revision of Love.
I had withholdings and deductions. I was receiving wisdom and instruction. Some will swallow its whole for their homes to plunder. Some will just run out of here before the whole place is run asunder. I had a revision of love. Loretta maintains nothing is amiss. In the usual manner of things, it ain't worth doing if you don't have to confess. I had a revision of love. Out in the open, wisdom calls aloud. Jelly on your shoulder, let's do what we fear most. Say simpletons love their ways and simpletons are proud. You didn't say that you were scared, but you look like a ghost. Exactly what is it you want me to say? They say her ways are pleasant ways. Exactly who do you want me to pay? Run the numbers on Pascal's wager. Langford's still an atheist. I had a revision of love. Loretta maintains everything's a quiz. Tell me the most trusted music voices. How many did I get right? How many did I miss? Remember that girl that always hung around backstage? One night she turned to me and said, I want you to write a song for me and play it for everyone when I'm dead. I assumed she was an actress because she was insane. But I said, okay, how do you spell your name again? You gotta be careful talking too much to the neighbors. Start asking you out for trees, start asking you for favors. Sometimes it'll make you know what Satan's capable of. Divisions of labor, revisions of love. I had a revision of love. Loretta maintains that it'll all come down to this. The bankers and the traders, they have your best interests in mind. And the reward really isn't any fun without a little risk.
I think that the two really inform each other. I've written down a couple of specific artists that you've written about in song and in printed word.
Okay.
That I think have informed the Paranoid style in some way.
Yes.
So the first one is the Mekons.
Yes.
Of course, I've talked to John Langford on the podcast as well.
Yeah.
What I would say that your music sort of takes from Mekons is sort of a combination of intellectual brevity and political fury. Mm-hmm. Like you're both able to say a lot in a very brief line. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking of like the Eric Burdon Stunned in Mississippi on the Animals US tour. That seems like a very Paranoid style line, like being able to use proper names and dates to just sort of signify an essay's worth of stuff.
Well, I mean, again, thank you for saying that. Mekons are huge influence on us. and probably one of the bands that we really modeled ourselves after in terms of just a mission statement and what we want to do in terms of what we want to say. And yeah, I mean, having, a slight political bent while being able to tell good stories and make music that is still enjoyable to listen to and not completely didactic, and be smart and funny is super important. So yeah, I mean, like that one is a no-brainer. Like, I mean, I'm pleased that you saw that, but I don't know that it was any great secret. And yeah, I mean, man, Langford is so good. I mean, he is just, you're from Chicago or you live, near the airport. So, I mean, I'm sure you've probably seen him perform. Is he like the mayor of Chicago? I mean, you must
in some ways, yeah.
Around,
Like he plays at street festivals and openings of record stores and art galleries. And I actually talked to him in his art gallery, which was just such a cool place. Just, I was trying to focus on what I was saying and not like look at, oh my God, look at that Patsy Cline portrait.
Yeah, he's frustratingly good, but also a good steward of the craft of writing songs and talking about them intelligently and stuff. Yes. I mean, I think he's like a genuine fan as well as, and he's a brilliant artist. And, he also incorporates that into his artwork. I mean, all of his paintings of famous artists is so great. Yeah. Want to own one of these days. And I'm always covetous when I see people like posting their Langford on social media. Yeah, they're fantastic. It doesn't get much better than them.
All right, the next one, we've already talked a little bit about They Might Be Giants, but they're definitely one of my favorite bands as well. What I kind of wrote about the crossover between Paranoid Style and They Might Be Giants is first, catchy melodies, and second, oblique societal commentary via flipped idioms and specific biographical facts.
One of my absolute favorite bands, maybe my favorite band. On any given day, they're my favorite band. One of the first bands that like I ever kind of got into, like when you're just kind of figuring out music for yourself and you go beyond whatever's playing on the radio. Like a friend of mine was like, oh, you should listen to those guys. And I was like, cool, I'll check it out. And so I did, and I fell in love. And they're so good and so prolific and so frighteningly adroit at rendering these sentiments in like 2-minute confections. I kind of stand in awe of the things that they do. I love every record they put out. I don't think there's a bad one in the bunch. And I think I've checked them all out, maybe except for like the kids ones, because I don't have kids, so it might be weird to, but I bet those are great too.
There's some bangers on there.
I'm sure. It's like, how could they not? Like, it's like, even if they tried to be stupid, it would still be like way smarter than anything and way more clever. And yeah, I wrote a song in honor of them on our Goddamn Impossible Way of Life record called The Peculiar Case of the Human Song Generators, which I'm sure you're well aware of as a huge Paranoid Style fan. And just to sort of honor them because they mean so much to me and definitely are a band that like I just copy, it's like I try to do that every time. I don't think I succeed because only they can really do what they do, but definitely aspirational. Like if I could just get like 30 more seconds off of these songs, like maybe I could like that's like a They Might Be Giant song. So just if I can get it a little shorter and a little bit more melodic. God, they're good. I'm so glad that you're a fan of those guys. Yeah. I just love them so much. This is off topic, but like, have you been following Flansburgh's injury situation?
Yeah.
It's such a tragedy.
Yeah.
Oh, another fun thing about them is that, so they were on Bar None, which is
That's
my
label
now. And one of the reasons why I wanted to be on Bar None was because I love They Might Be Giants so much. And I was like, this is the coolest label. Like, and I got really into all the Bar None bands. But I was asking Glenn, our manager, who still keeps up with those guys, like how Flansy's doing. And I guess, okay, but like, God, it sucks so much because they're like so good live too. And they were just about to go back out on the road.
I saw them a week before everything shut down on that Flood tour. And they were so good.
Hell yeah.
Even though there was that like, am I supposed to be in a crowd right now? Is this okay?
Dude, we went to see the Drive-By Truckers right before it shut down. And that's like pretty close quarters. I mean, that was like one packed room. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, it would be weird if we're wearing a mask, I bet. But this feels definitely unsafe. Like, so I totally get it. By the way, that was a great show too. That that was when they were doing the Unraveling tour. So they were like extra angry and extra sad. But those flood shows must have been cool, though. Like the one that you saw, like they just played the whole record, right?
Yeah, although not in order.
Oh, that's interesting. Did they do it backwards?
Well, they did Sapphire Bullets of Pure Love in reverse. So they learned it phonetically backwards.
That's awesome. They're so weird. Reminds me of like when NRBQ does like 11-bar blues. Like there's no point to this, and it seems like it's way harder than it should be, but it's like the coolest thing.
Right.
Like they remove that 12th bar and then they just do the 11 bars. It's like, okay, like, do you guys do anything else other than think about music? Like, I don't know. How was the backwards Sapphire Bullets?
It was really good. It made musical sense, and my hat is off to the rhythm section for just
Hell yeah.
Playing that beat backwards.
Yeah, I'll have to check. I know they do like a bunch of recordings of that stuff, so I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, I did see some footage of the one show that they did from before the accident. And what they actually did was they played Sapphire Bullets phonetically backwards, and then during the intermission, they played that recording flipped on the big screen. So, and it's really close.
Oh my God, that's awesome. I'll have to check that out. I love them.
From 2019's A Goddamn Impossible Way of Life, here's the song paying tribute to TMBG, called The Peculiar Case of the Human Song Generators.
The horses are all up and gone. Honey, surely won't last long. Similar fire tune you stole from John and John. Don't know what was the accursed venue. Sponsored by Barnum and I got their sampler. Some of the bands, The Ordinary, Kitty Card Rouge, from Brian Dewan, Freddie Johnston. My favorite song was Nightgown of the Southern Moon. It showed up late and it left too soon. What's their deal? They art school kids. I think they live under the Williamsburg Bridge. You can call them on the phone and they'll sing to you. The first record is self-titled, but everyone calls it the Pink Album. It's got Don't Let's Start and She's an Angel and Absolutely Bill's Mood. Was she a hotel detective or the investigator? The peculiar case of the human song generator. Before the flood there was Lincoln. I'm pretty sure Annie's the best one, but they'll need a crane is certainly a close second. I was working in the lab late one night, trying to discern exactly when you'll die. I've been on both ends of this is where the party ends, but I never lost faith in they might be giants. Thermostats in flames, or in the incinerator. Peculiar case of the human song generator. Like this. Make a hole with a gun perpendicular to the name of this town in a desktop globe. Exit wound in a foreign nation, showing the home of the one this was written for. Made no advancement, made no proof. Pretty soon you'll read the end of the movement, but you'll have to deal with TMBG from top and down like an open tree. In the days of our youth, remember your creator. Peculiar case of the human song generator. Oh, I don't know. You must be thinking of some other band.
Did you ever hear from them about the Peculiar Case of Song Generator? I mean, I assume that they would have had to have heard it to clear the interpolation of Vanna Ing.
Well, I actually had to go through like their legal team for that. Like, it was actually really, they're like a big deal now, so they don't really have time to deal with, your promising local indie band. So I cleared through their legal team. I have tried to, like, I had a friend who interviewed Linnell. He mentioned it to Linnell, and Linnell at least feigned curiosity, and I think he sent it to him. And then I wanted Glenn to send it to them, to my label manager. And I just don't know. Maybe they just don't have time, or maybe they just don't want to hear that kind of stuff. Like, maybe it's a little creepy. I don't know. Like, I am hoping that eventually, though, maybe while Flans is convalescing, I'll slip a copy to him, and either that will be the thing that makes him better or maybe makes him worse. But I haven't gotten any confirmation that they've heard it. I pray that they did, and I hope that they would. I think they would. Honestly, I think it's a cool tune. It's not very long. And the Anna Ang is faithful enough that it fits in well, but I don't know. I think they dig it.
One of the things that I think lyrically I can hear an influence is in your songs about people. Like, their songs about people like, James Ensor, James K. Polk, or Tesla. It sounds like they're just reciting uncritical biographical facts.
Right.
But there's always something else. Those songs are not Wikipedia articles. They're songs about memory and about legacy. And
yeah,
I definitely think there's like a parallel with the exit interview with PJ Wodehouse, where you go through that whole situation and kind of you set a land speed record. But that particular song, it's so kind of relevant to, there are a lot of other artists in their twilight years kind of leveraging their name recognition to align it with reactionary politics.
That's very diplomatically stated. Yeah, I mean, that one was super fun to kind of craft and sort of think about it. And honestly, one that I felt like I needed to really learn about before I dared do something so audacious, because it's kind of a sensitive subject. I mean, so I interviewed Wodehouse's biographer about the whole incident and tried to make sure that my facts were correct. Obviously, it's a work of imagination. I did not actually interview him, unfortunately. And I mean, I say this as a fan, like, I think he's great. And I think he really, really, really fucked up. He did a very bad thing. And, but I understood a little bit more about his personality. And I think that's sort of the fun thing about writing those kinds of songs about people. Like, it's fun to write stuff about people who you really admire. But when they're sort of flawed, it makes it even more interesting. And especially when dealing with someone like Wodehouse, that was like the more interesting thing to talk about rather than like, oh, Jeeves and Wooster are so funny. But yeah, and I don't say this as like a fan of Alan Greenspan, who's another person I wrote a song about, but it's just like sometimes you just want to kind of talk about things that are bigger in society or whatever through the lens of historicity and like trying to understand like, how did we get here? And like, so I'm not really interested in writing about current politics because it's really hard and can be really boring and can just kind of, in my opinion, be sort of like a cudgel. So rather than writing about Trump, like, to go back and be like, why are we so screwed up economically? Perhaps it's this chairman of the Federal Reserve who is an objectivist and a huge Ayn Rand fan. How would that sound? So, I mean, like, and I think that's what the Maybe Giants do too, is like, they're always kind of zooming in and zooming out. Like, I mean, yes, some of their stuff is more blatantly coming out of a history book or whatever, but I think there are reasons why they decided to write the song about J.P. Polk. I mean, like, they could pick any president and they probably could write songs about every president, and I hope they do, but that was the one they chose. And I think that's a really great song, and certainly about a president that I don't think that we think about too much when it comes to the American experiment. So, but
so pivotal with, the manifest destiny and sort of.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, like, I don't know that a lot of people think about that, like, and maybe you don't think about it when you're listening to it because it's such a fun little confection, but man, like, those guys are really thinking about stuff. I will ride or die forever with them.
Same. Here's another song from the new album, For Executive Meeting, on the topic of P.G. Wodehouse's Berlin broadcasts, called Exit Interview with P.G. Wodehouse.
Straining, gotta talk about how to be an intern without previous training. He shuffled and he chuckled, but he never refused. In those days, events overtook you. In those days, events moved. French residents at a non-judicious time. Hitler on the march, city occupied. He wanted badly to take Ethel and flee. Goebbels' wheels turning back in Germany. Germany. Woohoo! I became a prisoner in a posh Berlin hotel. They'd taken me there, and there they bid me I'd stay. You don't argue with the shop about where you dwell. That was my own personal policy. Anyway, broadcasts, he said, were not my intention. A means of survival, not worth a mention. I was 59, past my prime. Even then, no one ever thought they'd hear from me again. But they did. And then they stopped. I spent the rest of my life trying to make it like I lived in infamy and I lived in fame. I lived in the hearts of millions, enlisted and civilians. I lived in happiness and I lived in shame. The broadcast said were not my intention, a means of survival, not worth the mention. I was 59, past my prime, even then. No one ever thought they'd hear from me again, but they did. Oh, they did. Woohoo!
One more sort of ride or dive band for me that you've written about is The Who, also one of my absolute favorites. One of the first adult proper shows I saw was probably John Entwistle's last Chicago show.
Oh,
which was
damn.
Just phenomenal.
So this is like early 2000s?
Yeah, it was June 25th, 2000, my 13th birthday.
Oh my God. Okay.
My parents said, "Happy birthday, you're going to The Who." Like, thank you.
Whoa.
But it was amazing because it was just a 5-piece. Like they were, every time someone left, they replaced them with, a couple more people. And now they've got a whole orchestra with them. So, but then it was just Roger, Pete, John, Zach, and Rabbit. And they killed it.
Wow. So that must have been mind-blowing as a 13-year-old. And you were a fan at that point? Like,
yeah.
Had you absorbed all the records and just, totally geeking out? And
yeah.
That's super cool.
But what I wrote about the nexus between Paranoid Style and The Who was embracing the triumphant ecstasy of rock music while imbuing it with cynicism and mordant humor. Having both of those, the sort of removed kind of cynicism and also being in the moment and just being a great rock and roll band and having both of those kind of contradictory elements celebrated at the same time.
What a very nice thing to say about us. And comparing us to The Who is super cool because obviously they're like this huge band that's been around for, I don't know now. What are we going on, 80 years? No, hang on, 60 years. Sorry.
Around, yeah.
Well, they were like born.
They're going on 80 years, yeah.
Yeah. They are going on 80 years. Their career has been going on 60. And I mean, Townsend is a remarkable writer and clearly has a lot on his mind. I definitely think that, it isn't all just like love songs and the sort of pablum that lots of bands kind of rely on. And his solo stuff is stuff that we put on a lot. And I think is really fascinating, just in terms of identity and anger. He seems angry quite a bit. And The Who I think of as being quite violent and certainly have their own form of politics. I'm not really sure where I am with Roger on all that. Like he definitely seems more perhaps apolitical or perhaps not as nuanced in his viewpoints as Townsend. Although I enjoy his singing very much. And I think he's a very powerful performer and somebody who is magnetic to watch. They all are, and especially when they were in that early, an initial iteration that was so successful and great. But yeah, I love The Who and we're buddies with Wussy. You've interviewed them and that song that we wrote about The Who, the title track from The Goddamn Impossible Way of Life, was kind of an answer to the Wussy song too, which was about listening to The Who and loving The Who. And ours was kind of like, okay, you love The Who, but they're this incredibly violent band. And what happens when all of that angry energy just kind of turns on itself and goes out of control? And I think they work well together.
Named after Robbie Robertson's rationale for the band's breakup in The Last Waltz. Here's the title track to the Paranoid Style's second album, 2019's A Goddamn Impossible Way of Life.
First come, first served. The Who sold out Cincinnati, December 3rd, 1979, Riverfront Coliseum. Wanna be up front? Maybe we can meet them. Second tour with Kenny Jones. Things were just settling in. Second tour without Keith. He can't play the fills, but he keeps the beat. Work on your paperwork, count on your mates. General admission locked at the gates. Everyone knows the immigrant song. In Cincinnati Coliseum, it won't take long. Death can come on slow, or death can come on quickly. The band had no idea anything went wrong until the last encore and the tank was empty. Triumphant Sugar spars with Sugar Ray, the Cincy cat who beat the odds at last. And then the odds went and beat him back. Did you know the first encore was Summertime Blues, and the second one was The Real Me? They were gonna raise a fuss, they were gonna raise a holler, they were gonna make $1 in Cincinnati. The crowd became a mob, and the temperatures were freezing. There wasn't any air, the crush couldn't be stopped. They weren't screaming for you, they were just screaming. Triumphant was the way they felt when they exited to stage right. Everything went like gangbusters. Pete and Roger only fought 3 times. Triumphant was the way they felt before they knew the kids had been trampled. I hope I get old before I die. I hope I die before I'm made an example. Well, they digitally removed the coke from Neil's nose, you know, or so the rumor goes. I don't know, was he a heavy doper or an occasional user? He was a friend of yours. Cutthroat played on camera as though there's any other kind. Winterland in November, Bill Graham presents a goddamn impossible way of life. Goddamn impossible way of life. I can't explain. Goddamn impossible way of life. I can't explain. Goddamn impossible way of life. Call it a bargain, the best they ever had.
We wouldn't be probably a band without the Who. You know, our various and sundry members think differently about them. I think Tim considers himself a huge fan. I consider myself a huge fan. I'm not sure if Bruce is a fan at this point, but he's definitely aware of them. I think he maybe actually saw them on the Maximum R&B tour. Mm-hmm. That was maybe the one that was right around the time of the whole tragedy in Cincinnati that we wrote about. So yeah, they're a great band with a tremendous legacy and one that we rely on and one that we turn to more often than not in a dark moment. There's nothing but great stuff. I mean, Blue, Red, and Gray was Tim's and my wedding song.
Oh, really?
Yeah, isn't that a beautiful one?
It is, yeah.
I mean, that's just like a very simple kind of Pete being very sincere, which he has that setting too. And that's, I don't know, he's a remarkable writer. And
yeah,
God, that's so cool that you saw Entwistle. I think he's fascinating. I was just reading, oh my God, I don't know, some terrible article about some woman that he was living with. I don't think he was married to her, but it was right around the time he died. And oh God, he just seemed crazy.
Yeah, there is a recent semi-authorized biography that just came out by Paul Rees, I think, called The Ox. Yeah, it was very interesting, but the ending was just kind of depressing.
Oh man, that's too bad. Because he's so great.
Yeah.
I mean, what a terrifying presence with his bottles and you know, his sort of novelty songs that were mostly just terrifying. Yeah, but no, I mean, like, clearly, yes, we are the Who. We're the next generation of the Who. People try to put us down. No, that's really cool. I appreciate the comparison.
I think it's the embracing the contradictions that's, you know, you're obviously a very literate and smart band, but you play with that élan or joie de vivre or savoir-faire, one of those French things.
Ah, thank you. Oh, merci. That's very kind.
You've referred to the new album for Executive Meeting as being sort of, in general, about the dignity of labor. Would you say it's a concept album or a song cycle?
Would I go so far as to say it's a concept album? I mean, that's so proggy, but I do think it hangs together conceptually. Does that make it a concept album? Sure. It's a concept album. I definitely think it's an album about labor. I definitely think it's about, you know, honoring working people and also about, you know, artists and how we treat artists and the work that artists do. I mean, it's very work centric, which, by the way, I've learned is not the kind of log line that you need to market a record. You know, this is an album that really celebrates work is not exactly what people want to hear. But I do think that it is what it's about. And I do think it kind of, I mean, volitionally or otherwise hangs together whether it's the Velvets pairing of Doug Yule and Steve Cropper plays Femme Fatale, or trying to think what else is on the record.
I do like how there are like 2 successive tracks that mention Alex Chilton covering another song.
Yeah. I mean, because that's all the guy really did ever was just cover other people's songs. No, the guy doesn't, Yeah, that's so true. I didn't even think about that. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of like thematic crossover, which I think was kind of neat, not necessarily intentional, maybe intentional at points, but I do think it kind of hangs together well as like a listening experience, which doesn't make it a concept record. It just makes it a record that was sequenced well. But yeah, I hope that this isn't going to turn people off from wanting to listen to it rather than, because I do think there's a lot of good hangs on that record too. So I don't know if you want to talk more about specific stuff. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say. So,
I mean, I think that this episode will come out after the album is out, so the embargo will have lifted.
Oh, okay, great.
I think it is maybe the pub rockiest Paranoid style album. There's definitely elements of pub rock on the previous albums, but I think maybe tempo is the difference.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice. Okay, yeah.
The earlier albums kind of proceed at a pretty rapid clip. Mm-hmm. And this one, everything's like just a hair slower, and it gives everyone a little bit more time to boogie.
Well, we love pub rock, and pub rock is one of our touchstones. We talk a lot about Graham Parker and not as much the feel goods, but Bruce and I have bonded over the feel goods. I think that was one of the reasons why he wanted to play in the band, was because I knew all about Wilco Johnson. Although Bruce doesn't play on this record, but nevertheless, pub rock has always been one of our aspirational goals. So I appreciate that. And yeah, I guess the groove is a little bit less frenetic. Perhaps that's because of my advanced age, or maybe just the nature of the songs and needing to give them the space. And we worked with a new producer this time too, this guy, Jason Richmond, who's fantastic. But I don't know if you like pointed out pub rock in a dictionary, if he would be able to like, oh, I understand what you're talking about. Like he's like, and this is not a knock on him at all. I just think like he's accustomed to recording like jazz vocalists, and he's worked with the Avid brothers and like, sort of different experience. So when we showed up, like it was a great experience for both of us because we tend to push it really hard. And I think he helped, keep it a little bit more, mellow and so maybe helped us establish that groove. So I think a lot of credit also goes to his production and his in-studio presence. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you think it's a pub rock record. Maybe I'll go with that instead of this is a record about work.
I don't think they're contradictions.
That's true. I mean, pub rock really is
it's kind of working class. Yeah.
Music of the working class for sure. I mean, I definitely think that it could fit in well at your area publican. So thank you for saying that. That's really nice.
I have read some references to you working as a lobbyist. I know that when I hear the word lobbyist, I automatically, it's kind of a loaded word. I think of like David Berman's dad.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
Sort of spending a career smearing good things and advocating for bad things. But I'm sure that there's just as many lobbies that are good that don't get the notoriety. Yeah,
for sure. I don't think it's an unfair description to associate lobbying with the kind of, darkened room, like guys wandering in with a suitcase full of stakes in the shape of North Carolina being like, you will vote for this bill that will, allow us to frack, most of the countryside. But yeah, I mean, like, first of all, I should probably clear up that, like, I never was like a registered lobbyist. And so like, I can kind of wash my hands of that. I did work for a lobbying firm, and I've worked in public policy for a really long time. And so I definitely value how sausage gets made and how government works. And I always try to be on the side of good. And the firm that I work for definitely was not associated, as far as I know, with anything nefarious. It was mostly just trying to help cities' practices get their light rail built, or try and help keep post offices open. I don't know how much I'm allowed to talk about, but like, and as I say, like, I was not a registered lobbyist. I was just there as a researcher, writer kind of capacity. And so like, but I definitely know for a fact that like there are plenty of firms that are doing incredibly bad things. But yeah, there are tons of shops in DC just doing the work, just going and taking meetings on the Hill, trying to make sure that roads continue to get built, make sure that infrastructure projects go through, all this like boring stuff rather than the sexy, like, let's keep cigarette prices low kind of stuff. So
right.
yeah, I mean,
more public good oriented.
Yeah.
From a split 7-inch single with our July 2014 Artists of the Month Wussy, here's a song called Absolute Cadavers. Yeah, I'm just kind of curious about how day jobs affect your lyrical perspective, because as you say, playing in a band is definitely work, but it's not the work. I'm certainly not paying the rent on Spotify.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, that's sort of an antiquated notion at this point, I think, for anybody who's not in the Taylor Swift kind of Beyonce level of fame.
Yeah, most of the people I talk to who are notable musicians, that's not their main gig on the tax form.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, yeah, I mean, people who I worship, Amy Rigby works at a bookstore. I mean, I think she could probably get by on her songs alone, but, she has a day job. The guys in Wussy, like Lisa and Chuck, they have a thrift store, like in an antique mall at this point, and Chuck used to work in construction and Lisa was like a copywriter. I mean, like they all have jobs, like, and, the other members of Wussy, like one of them's a teacher and like, so most of the bands that we hang around with and that we know and that we love, everybody has a actual gig and the music is a side gig. You have to make time to make art. So like a lot of the spare time that we spend writing songs is like genuinely our spare time. And that kind of, like, I'm not saying that like I sit down and I'm like, here I am at my job, writing about like how boring this spreadsheet is, but definitely thinking about like, we don't value art. We don't value artists. We don't value people who make art. That definitely creeps into the material, if not is explicitly stated that, we do a terrible job of paying artists and it's only gotten worse and it probably is not going to get better. And that's maybe what we deserve, but it's still a huge bummer. When we were doing For Executive Meeting, that was definitely something that I was thinking about, was how we don't take care of artists. We have seen too many of our friends or people that we admire suffer at the hands of either the pandemic or mental health issues. Lost a lot of friends during the pandemic, perhaps senselessly, perhaps not. I don't know. I think senselessly, but yeah, that definitely crept into the writing of this record and probably is in all of the records. And then, when it just comes to brass tacks and working practically, like, we don't have the luxury of being 4 months in the studio. So like, we have to jam a Kano. We get 4 days in the studio and we try to do our best. And I think that urgency comes through on the recordings and that's what makes it fun. Would it be wonderful to have 4 months in the studio? Of course, that'd be great, but that's not what we get. So we try to make a virtue of it. And I think that we do. So, I mean, I hope that anybody who elects to attend the executive meeting is like happy that they did, because they're just going to get, a lot of talk about labor in a short amount of time, but apparently with a better groove or a more laid back groove than previous recording. So there you go. That's my elevator pitch.
Here's a highlight from the new LP For Executive Meeting called Love and Demotion.
Well, I told you once before it began, this affection will not stand. I'm not the kind to put up forever with uncomplicated earthly pleasures. I won't tolerate in perpetuity vague notions of perfect unity. Return on investment, return to sender, checking the bank book, checking the ledger. So many Rubicons and so many rivers to cross. I wanna be your lover, but I'm already your boss. You go between phases, separated by oceans. You know the meaning of that gaze. It's love and demotion. Love and demotion. Love and demotion. Well, I told you once before I glanced askance, I don't believe in fate, I don't believe in chance. Check out the statistics, check out the history, don't let the mystery be. Embrace the mystery. I'm not about to apologize because I take my cue from old white guys. But if I wasn't curious, I must surely confess I still love you, but you failed the test. So many Rubicons and so many rivers to cross. I wanna be your lover, but I'm already your boss. You go between phases, separated by oceans. You know the meaning of that gaze. It's love and demotion. Love and demotion. Love and demotion.
one of my favorite lines from the new album is, "I'm not one to apologize because I take my cues from old white guys." And the lyrics of the album are really populated with tons of white dudes. So this is actually kind of a question that I previously asked Amy Rigby when The Old Guys was the new album.
For sure.
Another album that's filled with white guys. So, like, why is this canon so kind of exclusively male?
Oh my gosh.
I know these are like
You have
intractable.
a question about the patriarchy and how it works?
I'm speaking as someone like, my musical tastes veer towards classic rock, dad rock, and
for
like
sure.
boomer music.
Yeah.
You know, there is this sort of fighting between like our love for the cultural artifacts of the boomer era
Yeah.
with the like deep enmity for what they have done
Yeah.
elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think you make a great point. And I mean, like, God knows, like, and I can't speak for Amy, but I feel like I know Amy and her cultural touchstones well enough to know, I mean, you know, we love the same old white punks. We love Dylan. We love The Who, and Neil Young. And I mean,
Warren Zevon.
just like, I mean, it's just a raft of white guys, like varying shapes and sizes. And I mean, like, I don't know how you escape it. Oh my gosh. Okay. So this is probably not podcast worthy, but it's like kind of on topic, but it's sort of off topic too. A sort of colleague of mine, I guess I'll call him, and kind of a friend, is this guy, David Cantwell, who I recently interviewed about his book about Merle Haggard, and published it on this website that I write for. And one of the commenters was sort of like, Haggard can't be in the conversation of like the best songwriters because he's white and male. Which I thought was just like not an incorrect thing to say, because God knows we haven't honored like our folks of color and definitely women of color in terms of their contributions to the songwriting canon. But I was just like, man, this is really weird that like that's what you're hung up on, because like these guys definitely were given more opportunities to excel. Like there was a reason why, like all of these voices were elevated. And it went, as I say, like, I don't want to go into a whole thing about the patriarchy, but I definitely think that probably opportunities were given away more readily. And also like back then, the industry was so crazy. Like the Velvet Underground, they just kept getting record deals. Like they just kept making albums. Like that is insane. Like if I turned in White Light, White Heat to a label, they'd be like, you have to be on a watch list. Like, there's no way we're putting this out. Like, are you kidding me? And they like got to just make records beyond that. Like, I mean, like, I just feel like bands got to fail before. And this all became canon. And I don't know what the ultimate point of this is, but like, there are a lot of talented white guys who made music. I can't deny that. Is it upsetting that, we're not giving a lot of women writers or even women performers like more of the credit they deserve? Absolutely. Like I have been on the stump for Carole King and Roberta Flack and lots of, and I'm not saying that these are people who need my help at this point. I mean, Carole King, is in Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 2 times now, or Roberta Flack for that matter. But like, when you think about that generation of artists, it's like, there are plenty of women who just kind of get forgotten sometimes, even where you're like compiling these lists and you're like, oh, right, Joni Mitchell. Like, I mean, at this point, probably not Joni Mitchell, but there's plenty of women who get forgotten. And,
Judy Sill.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect example. And then you like think about it, you're like, oh yeah, no, this is great. But I mean, obviously history is written by the winners, and the winners have been white men for forever and ever. And a lot of them, I really enjoy their music. I really groove to it, but it's definitely a failing. And so, that's kind of a nuanced lyric, I guess, if you want to think about it that way.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is such a good example because, every time the nomination list comes across, there's usually a tweet thread about like, why aren't these people in yet?
Right.
And it usually boils down to because it's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I mean, like, we don't have to get into the whole Rock and Roll Hall of Fame thing, but, I think the thing that's so dumb about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is everything. But like, I like sports and I admire halls of fames. And there are certain like rules in place about what it takes to be in the Hall of Fame. Usually it means you have to be retired. Usually it means you have to have had certain achievements. You've won this many golf majors. Your batting average was this, like whatever, like you've been to this many Super Bowls. Like, there's no kind of apples to apples comparison for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I often just feel like too, it's kind of like, like Foo Fighters, fine, whatever, like I have no problem with Foo Fighters, but like, are they more influential than Shaka Khan? Like, I just, it's like, I don't know. I'm not a voter, but I would just like have to sit there and, obviously it's like, it's a dumb institution with dumb rules. And I mean, like, if we went like, there are people who are obsessing over this, so I don't have to do it. But like, if we went back and actually looked at like the ballots over the years, I'm sure it would be like this raft of white guys, like just one after the next, with like a token female or person of color thrown in. But anyway, yes. So yeah, mostly it's a record about white people, white men specifically.
I would like to ask about some of the characters without last names who show up in some of the songs, like Jackie, who shows up in a lot of songs. There's Loretta in Revision of Love, Kelsey in National Sunday Law. Who are these people?
Well, I can give you their names and addresses.
Okay, good.
So you can dox them. No, they are sort of composite folks, but also people who have appeared in other songs that I felt like needed to be in songs. So Jackie is an homage to Dan Behar and Destroyer. And New Pornographers. Like, he's got a Jackie that shows up a lot, and I'm interested in Jackie. So I've wanted to keep Jackie going.
How do you dress in cobras? I've always wanted to know.
And then Loretta comes from Loretta Scars. And Loretta's just a fun name to sing. So she is not really a person, but instead just a Malcolmus kind of nod. And then Kelsey, I don't actually know who Kelsey is. Like, she's not like a specific person. I think I said to Tim, like, can you give me a woman's name? And he said Kelsey, and that seemed to work out. So yeah, sometimes it's just like a name that's good to sing is the explanation. Sorry.
Leave it up to the listener's imagination. That's great.
Yeah, if you know a Kelsey and you think she fits the bill, then it's her.
Here's the opening track from 2019's A Goddamn Impossible Way of Life, one of a few Paranoid-style songs that invokes Jackie, called Turpitude.
Well, Jackie lost her fucking mind outside Green Lawn Detention, and then it made the Chronicle. And I remember what you said at the time. It was farcical, but it wasn't comical. It's been a trying couple of years, and I know that it appears that I'm aimless, if not mindless. Well, it's a universal truth that when someone turns that blue, then suddenly it's all just you and turpitude. November 8th, 1994, a dark cafe in Rochester. Gingrich Revolution on the TV. You think things just got bad? The truth is more exhausting. And I smoked for the following reasons: the contract with America. I smoked because of Pulp Fiction. I smoked because of Mojo Nixon, and because back then it wasn't rude. Nowadays, I suppose they call that turpitude. I left a diary in the van. It had mostly just ideas and maybe some sketches, a notice from collections, and a cease and desist from my favorite band. 1940, August 20th, the springtime of the cannibals. And ice picked deep in Trotsky's back. His last thought is that it's understandable. I was pumping some pain in West Memphis. I was just about losing my shit. It's sunny and extradition is difficult. Confused thoughts in my head. And will the night air finally calm me? And will our parents remember us fondly? Can I do anything to get you in the mood? Sometimes my mind wanders and I think about turpitude.
For Executive Meeting ends with a really great version of Roseanne Cash's 7-Year Ache. And I noticed that the two other full lengths also have closed with really well chosen covers, with Duvet Fever and Building Up and Tearing England Down. And I think that they work well as covers of the original songs, but they also work in the context of the band, in the context of your writing, in the context of the playing of the band. I'm sure that there are some listeners who haven't heard the originals and assume that they are originals. So, like, how do you choose what songs to add to the repertoire? Are there covers that you do live that aren't likely to see a studio version?
Totally. Yes, of course. I mean, there are covers that we do. We try to do like a different cover at least every tour or even every show or whatever, like depending on how much energy we have. So they wouldn't make a studio recording just because that's just so much harder to achieve. But insofar as choosing covers, like we do like to do a cover. We also covered Belle and Sebastian's Like Dylan in the Movies for our first EP. But yeah, I mean, we'd like to think of things that like bands that are important to us and are an important aesthetic fit for the record. So the Reckless Eric cover definitely felt like it would be a great fit on that record. It's such a punk new wave record, and he was just looming large in my consciousness at that point, as he does frequently. I love Eric. I love Eric and Amy. And so I love that record, The Dawn of It of Trash. And I don't think a lot of people know that record. You know, I think that that's one that's kind of either by like how rights work in terms of printing records and stuff, because I know it got reissued, but then I'm not really sure where it exists currently. So I just don't know how many people know it.
Yeah. And it's got kind of a lo-fi feel to it.
Yeah. I mean, it's the coolest record. His writing is so good on it. His performance is so good on it. And yeah, we were looking for something that kind of would wrap things up. And it's just such a beautiful song. And it's funny and it's dark. And so that was one that just felt like a good fit. And then with Building Up and Tearing England Down, like Goddamn Impossible Way of Life is in some ways like our Ireland record. I'm an Irish citizen. And we have this song, what is it called? Marked Man, Unmarked Occasion. Thank you. Which is the third song on the record. And that's all about the Easter Rising in Ireland. And so I kind of wanted to cap that and like give those Irish folks who died like a little bit of glory at the end. And so we figured a song about 5 senseless workplace deaths, you know, at the hands of the British would be the perfect cover. Plus it's a cool song. And the version that I was listening to was by the Dubliners, which is like a much like more kind of folky, like string band kind of thing with, you know, banjos and fiddles and stuff. Their version is remarkably shorter than ours, which I thought was incredible because we were really pushing it. So yeah, we just kind of did a revved up cover of that because like, it was just so cool. Like these old timey Irish bands were singing about all of this really, really messed up stuff. And then, yeah, the Roseanne Cash cover, like we heard that song and we're like, man, this song is so good. Like it's, you know, it's pretty bulletproof. Like it's really good. We better go in there. Before reading to it, but it felt like a nice way to sort of end this record. I can't really speak to, you know, what drove us to do it other than it's really beautiful. And, you know, kind of wanted to do something done by a woman, which was important at this point. And, you know, we mentioned Carlene at one point too. So it's like the Cash Carter sisters were kind of hanging around and it's just so good. I mean, and it's just so cool. So we tried to just make it more like Paranoid style, less new wave, I guess. But what a perfect song. I mean, you can't mess that one up. So that one seemed like a no-brainer. So yeah, I mean, doing a cover is always cool. Like a lot of our favorite bands always do covers. Like Yola Tango is well known for picking remarkable covers. And so we were just trying to follow in that tradition.
Nice. Murdering the classics.
Exactly. Which is something that my friend Bruce Bennett, who we've been talking about, gets to participate in every year, and he always does a good job.
Excellent. From For Executive Meeting, here's the Paranoid Styles jangly take on Roseanne Cash's 1981 hit, 7 Year Ache.
You act like you were just born tonight, face down in a memory, but feeling alright. So who does your past belong to today, baby? You didn't say nothing when you're feeling this way. The girls in the bars thinking, who is this guy? But they don't think nothing when they're telling you lies. You look so careless when they're shooting that bow. Don't you know heartaches are heroes when their pockets are full? Tell me you're trying to cure a 7-year ache. See what else your old heart can take. The boys say, when is he gonna give us some room? The girls say, God, I hope he comes back soon. someone you're not. You say you're looking for something that you might have forgotten. Don't bother calling to say you're leaving alone, 'cause there's a fool on every corner when you're trying to get home. Just tell them you're trying to cure a 7-year ache. See what else your old heart can take. The boys say, when is he gonna give us some room? The girls say, God, I hope he comes back soon. Tell me you're trying to cure a 7-year ache. See what else your old heart can take. The girls say, when is he gonna give us some room? The boys say, God, I hope he comes back soon.
I really enjoy the kind of self-branding of the band. Like on your merch site, there's a very kind of heightened, emphatic diction, kind of formalized, but also your, like the visual side of the band, it's kind of quotidian and relaxed. Like there's a lot of pictures of you at home with a coffee table book about the Clash, always at arm's length. And I kind of like how that communicates that you've got a definite style in mind, but it's also approachable.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, in part, it's just, what we have available, I mean, as again, we're just an indie band, we're DIY, we don't have a lot of opportunities to photograph ourselves in fabulous places. Also, our band lives all over the place, so we can't just get together and pose against a wall, or wherever else bands normally pose. So a lot of times
on railroad tracks. Yeah,
exactly. Well, no, hey, we did that though for Rolling Stone.
You did. Yeah.
So I have to say that I fell victim to that particular hacky band thing, but that's a good cover, and it stands in the tradition of combat rock. So
oh yes,
I cannot apologize. Obviously, we want to be approachable. We don't think of ourselves as unapproachable. We're just people who have jobs. We are just aggrieved homebodies, just people who like hanging out with our cats mostly. We're not glamorous rock people or anything. So, I hope that comes through in the music for sure. I would hate for anybody to think that, we weren't approachable. And yeah, I mean, it's just more fun to take pictures at home because you got to like filter through them and pick out the best ones. And if you're like trying to take it, while standing precariously on a 16-foot wall or something, like you really only get like 5 shots or something. So right. It's a little bit just by convenience and a lot just by like design. But yeah, I mean, and then I'm glad that you like our store. I try really hard to get people excited about the products because I think that they're fantastic offers that, they should jump on because I'm passing along the savings to the consumer. And I just feel like people don't understand that like once they're gone and demand is going to be high. I try to impress this upon people, but
the people will not listen.
And then when it sells out and they're disappointed, I just say, have to come around for the next thing, folks. And there will be a next thing. So thank God for that. So there's still time, folks, to step by the old Paranoid Style store and pick up some merchandise.
So you've mentioned sort of being homebodies, and I know that you often refer to your gigs as rare public appearances, but yeah. Are there any plans, pandemic willing, to play more to support the new album?
Yes, pandemic willing, obviously. Since this is coming out after the record comes out, I can say that we will play Mountain Stage.
Oh, nice.
In October, the 1000th episode of Mountain Stage featuring the Paranoid Style. So that's really cool. And we're super honored and super psyched for that. And then we might try to do like a mini tour here or there. We tend to do well in DC and New York, so we might try to go visiting our friends there, perhaps Nashville. Maybe we'll come to Chicago. We've played there before and had a really good time.
I'm sorry I missed it.
I'm sorry too, although maybe I'm not sorry. I don't know. It was a weird time. But we actually did a show in Bucktown at an arts festival that was super fun. And Amy Rigby played too. So you really missed out because she was great. And you could have at least been like, well, at least Amy was good. We tried our best. It was good. It was really fun. So we'd love to come back to Chicago. But yeah, all of that's kind of in the offing right now.
Okay.
And yeah, it's so weird with the pandemic. It's just like, I feel like, we just see bands all the time being like, hey, we're on the road back again. And then like 2 days later, we're like, we're not on the road because somebody tested positive. So, we'll have to figure out what our, protocols are going to be around that stuff. And as I say, our weird thing too, is that it's like Tim and I are like one little unit, but then like William, our guitarist, is in West Virginia and he's kind of a touring musician of his own. So he's always doing his own thing and he's got his own solo career to worry about. And then like our other bandmates, one lives in New York and then another lives in San Francisco. So like even just getting together to practice and put together a set is its own unique challenge, but we're going to do it. We're going to get it together for Mountain Stage and then perhaps expand from there. So yes, awesome. Be on the lookout.
I will.
Yeah.
And if the Spinal Tap curse holds, I volunteer to be drummer in Chicago.
Hell yeah. Okay, good. I'll let John know that he's fired. John, you're fired. This has been really fun. Did you have any other questions you wanted to ask?
Not offhand. I think this has been, I think Victor's claws are stuck.
Oh no, Victor.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Lordy.
Is he okay? Very cool.
Hang on 1 second.
Okay.
I actually cannot find where my headphones went. Just follow the trail. Oh, all the way over there. That's honestly impressive. Well, that was exciting.
So the cat took the headphones.
Yeah, the cat kind of leapt off, unplugged this hub, and...
Oh, gosh. Cats are such assholes. That's the worst.
As I think George Carlin once said, like, cats never admit their guilt. You always know when a dog fucks up because...
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
The cats are just knock your drink off and what?
You did that. I don't know. I'm going over there. Well, that was a remarkable feat of engineering by your cat because that was really impressive. I watched most of it happen and I didn't even understand what was going on. It was like 1 minute Victor was there hanging out and the next thing I knew you were off screen. You couldn't hear anything. Your headphones were gone.
I think that's a good place to wrap it up.
Hail Satan. Peace out. I'll talk to you all in 2023. Well, thank you so much for inviting me to do this. This was super fun. And
you're welcome. Thanks for being so generous with your time.
Oh my gosh, what a pleasure. Nothing more fun than talking about yourself. Believe me. As I say, like approach people with flattery and they'll just,
Flattery gets you everywhere.
Exactly. So anyway, yes, I appreciate it very much.
And that's just about all the time we have for our salute to the Paranoid Style. Many thanks to Elizabeth Nelson for taking the time to speak with Stereo Hysteria. If you'd like to purchase some of the music you heard on this episode, or to sartorially signify your enjoyment of this band with a t-shirt, I encourage you to direct your browsers to theparanoidstyle.bandcamp.com or theparanoidstyle.bigcartel.com. And for up-to-the-minute band information, as well as Elizabeth's wonderful capsule reviews of classic albums in 280 characters or less, follow the band on Twitter at Paranoiacs. Be sure to tune in again next week for our annual salute to warmer weather with an hour of songs about the summer. This is Charlie, signing off.